Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be going over update 0.5.2, and I think the most notable thing about this update is the ability to drag vehicles by their nodes. So if you hold control, you can see all the nodes on the vehicle like this. Some of them turn red, others turn green. The ones that turn green, you can click and drag on to drag that vehicle in that direction from that node. So you can do things like this, where you're just flipping the vehicle all about, dragging it all over the place, based on that point in the roof. You can do all kinds of things with this though. Like, let's say you flip your truck over and you don't want to have to do any kind of crazy nonsense to flip it upright. Well, you could pretty easily just grab it by this node and gently roll it over like that. So you don't have to worry about getting any extra damage on the vehicle or doing anything crazy. You just simply drag it by the node and then you'll have a functional drivable vehicle afterwards. You can do other things as well. Like, let's say maybe, for example, you didn't like this bumper and you really wanted to try to remove it. I don't know if this will actually work, but here we go. It almost worked. Pull it off. You can see it's slowly separating, but it's just giving you an idea of what you can do with this. You can do all kinds of crazy things like this, and I bet if I chose a less heavy-duty vehicle, I could have probably tore the bumper off, but the truck is kind of heavy-duty, so that bumper's really on this thing, and it won't come off, but we're dragging the truck around, smashing into things in the process, doing all kinds of things. One thing though, I do suggest you use a stationary camera when using this though, because it just makes things a little bit easier. And to activate the stationary camera, all you do is hold shift and hit C. Because when you use the non-stationary camera, it's a little weird because your movement's also tied to the direction you hold it. So you see kind of like the camera starts to shift about a little bit. I mean, it works, but it's a lot harder to demonstrate things when the camera's moving around this much. I mean, you end up just kind of getting a lot of chaos, which is totally fine, but it's not what I was going for when I was first trying to demonstrate this to you. I wanted to be able to do some kind of controlled demonstrations with the flipping the car upright and stuff. Now we're kind of just flying through the air like crazy and just bouncing off of everything and wrapping ourselves around trees. Oh, look at this. We're kind of stuck in the tree right here. So you can see there's the roof bending and then unbending. That might be kind of interesting, trying to repair a car by pulling the nodes into position. I don't think it would work, but it might be interesting to try that eventually. Oh, I can't get the roof to bend anymore. It does max out, though, eventually, the amount of force you can do. So, like, you can see at about, let's see, this point or so, right about here, that's the max strength that you can pull it at. So pulling it any farther is not going to do anything, but you see the number, 2,551.02 kilograms of force or whatever. That's as hard as it will pull. I don't think there's any way to get it to pull any harder than that. There's no, like, key modifier or something for, like, extra strength. That's just the way it is. There we go. We're bending it again. We just kind of have to go in and out so it has a little bit of momentum behind it. And, well, I think this one's stuck on the tree enough where we wouldn't be able to get it off by just pulling on the nodes, but we can try to pull on the tow hitch and see if we can have anything interesting happen with that. Nope, that tow hitch is on there. Good. What about just trying to yank off the bumper by the corners? There's the bumper coming off. Okay. So then if we get it by the other corner, we can get this whole thing off. Haha! I removed the bumper. Now it's flying away, and if we wanted to, we could use this bumper to slam into a vehicle or something. Now, what I'm doing right here, though, this works on every vehicle and every prop, and that is including modded ones as well, because this is a change to the game engine, not the vehicles themselves. So if we wanted to, for example, get the cinder block wall and take it apart block by block, we could totally do that. Or if you wanted to, and you want to just take the bottom block out and shove it upwards, you could do that as well. You could do whatever you want with this, and you see, you could just select any of these blocks, any one of them. So, like, let's say maybe you want to take this one off, right? And then you wanted to slam it into the wall. So you spin it around like I'm doing right here and then just smash the wall up like that. And you could also probably use this to smash up cars as well. I mean, you see this thing is flying through the air at some ridiculous speeds it has to be. One thing worth noting, though, is that if you have a real heavy vehicle, like the T-Series, for example, you might not be able to do much with it because the amount of force that you can do doing this is always going to max out at 2,551.02 kilograms. So in this vehicle situation, it weighs more than that, so you can't actually lift it into the air. You can still drag it about and stuff, like you could drag it forward and backwards and that kind of thing, but you're not going to get it to actually go in the air because you can't exert enough force to overcome gravity. But you can't exert enough force to actually overcome the parking brake, which is on this whole time, or tear off pieces of it accidentally while you're trying to demonstrate something. So right here, you see, it is going forward even with the parking brake on. We can take the parking brake off, and then it goes forward real easily. Right into the tree, maybe. Nope, we're going to miss the tree and go right in between them into that. Nope. Oh, into that tree then, which gave us almost no damage whatsoever. That's kind of an unexpected outcome. And just for fun, how about we do something different? What if we get a car with a pretty basic body style, like the Ibishu Corvette, right? And we're just gonna bump it into something and then try to repair it by pulling out the damage. I mean, they do that in real life. They totally pull out damage from cars. So like, there you go. There's your damage, and you flip it over even. So it's a perfect demonstration. Okay, first thing you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to move the car away from the tree a bit. You're gonna accidentally roll it on its roof. That's all part of the plan. Let me actually go ahead and get a stationary camera here. So then you're gonna roll the car upright, like so. And then we're gonna say, what kind of repairs can we do here? Now, I'm not gonna be able to get this thing drivable because the suspension is damaged and I can't get in that much detail to fix it. But we can try to like make it look better by trying to fix the bumpers and the fenders and stuff. Although I don't know if that's actually gonna do any good. There, that bumper looked a little bit better, but then it unstretched itself. Like, yeah, right there, it looks a little bit better, right? There you go. I repaired it. I think I've made it worse, actually. Come on, fix it. How about we fix up the hood? It's a little crooked. Yeah, that's totally less crooked, maybe. Actually, it is. I fixed it. All right, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do with this piece right here. We gotta stretch it out. Okay, did it stretch out? Kind of. Let's stretch it out some more. It actually is kind of working. Like, it's not doing a great job. Oh no! And it's kind of difficult because I wanted to like swing it to really get the momentum going, but it kind of worked. It actually did work right there. Even though I heard a bang and crash noise, it actually helped make it a little bit better. Like, it still looks obviously damaged, of course, but it looks slightly less damaged. Oh no, I just pulled out the headlight. Well, now it looks more damaged, so I think I failed at my job. One last fun thing we'll do with this new feature is try to slam a concrete retaining wall block into a vehicle. Now, one thing worth pointing out that's kind of convenient is if you are the retaining wall, for example, and you want to move the Corvette, you could totally do that. So you can move either one. You don't have to be that specific vehicle or prop to move it around. I'm going to go and reset this here because it got a little bit damaged when I spawned up the wall. And all we're going to do is we're going to grab like this block and bring it to the Corvette. Now, one thing that's also worth noting is if you go over a piece of your display like this, it will kill off what you're doing. So I was holding the mouse button down the whole time, but once you went over the tachometer, it just stopped it. And you just got to be careful of that. And if it ever seems like the things just keep getting dropped for no reason, the most likely reason is you're going over some part of the interface like I just did right there. Anyways, let's go ahead and just gonna slam that into the car just like that. And it works great for stuff like that. You see it got a nice amount of damage to the vehicle, and it's upside down, but we have an easy fix for that. It's not pulling off the mirror though. Whoa, that mirror just flew. I don't even know where it went. Let's find the mirror. How far did it go? Oh my goodness, this mirror went. It really went. It's what? Okay, it's somewhere. There is the mirror. It flew all the way over here. I don't know exactly how I managed to do that. I guess I just was pulling at it with such force, and then I let go at just the right time to fling it super hard. Getting used to this thing, man. It can do some crazy things. So I gotta make sure I don't grab it by the mirror or the door. I don't know if this is the door or the top of the car. I think that was the door, but the door held up. And cars upright, it's so much easier than normal. Let's say, oh no, we gotta save the person, and we ripped the door off. We could do that too. So you save the person in the car, maybe you save a life because you're a paramedic or something. I don't know. I think that gives you a good idea of how that feature works. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the new car, the ETK 800 series, and I'll be doing a full video for this at a later point in time, but I want to give you guys a quick glimpse of it right now. As you can see, there are a lot of different options available to us. The biggest difference between all of these is whether or not it has all-wheel drive, what engine it has, what kind of suspension setup it has, and what wheels it has. So I'm just going to kind of pick like a middle-of-the-road model, which is the 854TX, which is the all-wheel drive touring model with a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And I'll give you guys a quick look at the exterior and interior of this thing before we get to that video. So as you can see, it's kind of like a German station wagon. If I had to give a very specific brand, I would be saying BMW because this grille shape is very reminiscent of the kidney grills on a BMW. One really cool thing about this interior is the functional GPS system. So you can see as we are driving, it is updating in real time our location on the map, and it's showing all of the roads around us. So let's say I wanted to take a left on that road I always miss because it's kind of hard to see it. So like I know the road's coming up in the GPS, so I slow down right now because I really can't see the road until right here. And if I slam on my brakes right here, we're gonna way overshoot that road. But thanks to the GPS, I knew it was here. We could come to a reasonable speed, go around the corner, and then drive on it like a normal person instead of slamming on our brakes and doing a U-turn because we missed the corner because it's so hard to see. I have the power of GPS now guiding me in whichever way I should go. So now let's go ahead and do a quick crash into something so you can see this thing deform, and then we'll move on to the next thing I want to talk about. And one thing that's worth mentioning about the GPS is I don't think this was possible with any vehicle before this update, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see it in some modded vehicles eventually, or maybe even in some of the stock vehicles, which I believe might have a spot for something similar to that. Ooh, something went a little bit wacky with the suspension, but rest of the deforming looks pretty reasonable. Both of the rear tires managed to come off, though. That's kind of impressive if you ask me. Another cool thing about this update is you can now tweak the racing transmission and the racing differential, where before you couldn't do that. So if we get the Racing 200BX, which has both a racing transmission and a racing differential, and we go to the tuning menu, we can change the rear limited slip differential torque maximum. We can change all of the gear ratio things that you could possibly imagine. You can even do the reverse gear ratio, which is not something you normally see. Normally in games you see, okay, you can change the final drive ratio and gears 1 through 6. Very rarely do you see the ability to change the reverse gear ratio. And what that does is it just makes it where you could go at really high speeds or really fast acceleration in reverse. So if we go all the way to the right, that should give us a car that can go, okay, it should technically be able to go like 100 miles per hour in reverse or something like that, but the gearing is so long, you see we can barely get this thing moving. I had to drop the clutch to just get any sort of momentum. And then of course going forward is totally unaffected by the reverse gear. And while we have this car up, I do also want to point out that it does have a new fancy looking texture on it. I think it looks pretty cool. It has a very race car kind of look to it. It is kind of inconvenient when you want to change the color, though. It does blend a lot, and I don't remember which color is the one I want to change. This would be the one. So if I said I would to just get like a regular red car, that's what it would basically look like. If I was to get a regular yellow car, that's what it would basically look like. So it's kind of annoying like that, and again, this doesn't do anything for that. Unfortunately, it'd be cool if it did, but it's just not the way it's designed. Anyways, the next thing I want to do might be able to be performed with that car, but I know it can be easily performed with the SBR4 with the 7-speed transmission. So before in BeamNG.drive, if you were using the automatic transmission, it would never skip a gear. As you just saw right there, it just did. So watch, we're in 6th gear, I floor it, boom, we're instantly in 3rd. I let go of it, we're instantly in 6th, instantly in 4th. You see, it's not going to 6-5-4 or anything like that. It's going 6 to 4. In the old version, it would have to go 6-5-4, and it would just temporarily be in the gear. It wouldn't be for long. It'd be only for like a tenth of a second or something, but it would be in that gear. Now, it's able to just skip gears when appropriate, which is more like what a real transmission can do. Also, I wrapped that car around the tree magnificently. And if you were paying attention, you might have noticed that there is a different sound from the glass shatters. Now, this is not a finalized sound, but it seems to work pretty decently so far. So I'll go ahead and let you guys have a listen to it on this next crash. You also got a little bit of fire in there accidentally. But I think you got a pretty good idea of how it sounds, but I like that sound, so you know what? We're going to do it one more time. Next, I want to take a look at the apps. So if we look at the wind app in this menu, for example, that's what it used to look like. But if we spawn it up, it has a new look to it. And a few apps are like that, so like the weight distribution has a similar story. That's what it used to look like, but this is what it looks like now. But some of the apps still have the old design. For example, the torque curves still looks like the old design where it doesn't have any transparency to it, where the new ones have transparency to them. I'm assuming eventually they'll all look like that transparent look because that's what they've kind of been changing over to. There is a new app I want to talk about. That is the cruise control. So we can go ahead and get that one. I'll just plop it right about there. And it works real simply. You hit these arrows up and down, and it sets the cruise control to that speed. So like if we wanted to cruise at 30 miles per hour, we just set it to 30 miles per hour, and it decelerates pretty slowly because it doesn't actually use the brakes or anything. But once it gets to 30, it will hold that speed, as you'll see now. Except, oh no. Okay, 30 miles per hour is kind of in between the two gears, so you see it's kind of fluctuating between the two, trying to hold that speed. So let's just raise it up to like 35. And there you go. Now it can actually hold a gear and hold the speed pretty decently, it seems like. Seems like it's just sitting at 35 miles per hour, even though we're going through some up and down hills. So it seems like it does a pretty decent job there. One thing that is worth noting is it floors it. When you tell it to go a higher speed, it goes a higher speed. So it's kind of funny when you're sitting at a stop and you set the cruise control to like 80 miles per hour. It'll go fast. So like, boom, cruise control engaged. You have some wheel spin and everything to get you up to 80 miles per hour. And then it's like, okay, calm down now. And if you want to disable it, you can just tap the brake, which disables it, or you can hit the button down here, which will disable it as well. Accelerating does nothing to it. So if you accelerate, the cruise control will still be there when you let off the gas. And of course, you can lower the speed as well. I don't think I've shown that. Oh wait, yes I did at the very start. But you can lower it ridiculously low if you wanted to. You can put it all the way down to like 5 miles per hour. Which is a really strange speed to have cruise control at. Like, I'm not exactly sure what practical purpose that would serve, but you could totally do it. Because it works. Here, let me just brake the car so you can see. How about we set it to 1 mile per hour? Or will it not do 1? No, it'll do 1. So here, 1 mile per hour. The car can't even go that slow. Like, it's going to kill the clutch doing this in the dual clutch. So probably don't do that in a real life car. Because you see it's going neutral, first gear, neutral, first gear. That's not good. That's not good at all. And I think that covers all of the non-vehicle specific changes. So let's go ahead and move on to those. For the Barstow, there really wasn't that much. It has some deformation improvements, and that's about it. For the Burnside Special, we do have a new variant, which is the V8 Police version. And this is styled like it was straight from the 1950s. Like sometimes you'll see where police agencies or whatever will do a thing where they style an old car with modern stickers and stuff. This one is basically what you would see in 1950. And you can actually turn that light on. If you hold Alt and hit M, it turns on just the police light. And you can actually see it reflecting or lighting up the trees around us. But that was M as in mom, not N. N still would do fog lights, but I don't think this one has any fog lights really. Yeah, it doesn't. So, yeah, just worth noting that you can turn that on, but it's a different hotkey that you might not be used to. It also has some deformation improvements to the suspension, and now we could put the fender skirts on either body. Before, if you wanted to put the fender skirts on, you had to use the chopped and channeled body. Now, if you want the fender skirts, you just equip them on either one. So you can have it on your police car, which is kind of unusual, I think, because it's like, why would the police want to have like something like that? It's so pointless. But you know, maybe the police really wants that for some reason. I don't know. Anyways, moving on to the 200BX, we can use the Type LS for the demonstration. It really doesn't matter here. So this one has a new front bumper option. That is the front bash bar, which looks like that. And actually, I should have done this with the one that has the intercooler sticking out a lot, like the race one. It almost looks like the front bash bar was designed around the intercooler, which is a really big possibility. So if you see the shape of the intercooler and the bash bar, you see it just goes right around the edges of it. And it just looks like it was made for this. Also, it's kind of funny. I can see the headlights, even though they are down right now, and you really shouldn't normally see them. But because the whole front bumper is gone, you can see them quite clearly. Aside from the bash bar and the skin, though, there are also some improvements to the tires and suspension, which a lot of vehicles have. So if I don't say it for a vehicle, it's not because I forgot. It's because it gets really boring saying the same thing 12 times in one video. Like, oh, this one has improvements to that as well. There's, you know, it's just easier to just say a lot of vehicles had that. So if I just gloss over it in the future, that's why. Next vehicle, that one we'll talk about later. Next one, Gravel Grand Marshal. This one has a new variant, which is the V8 Lux or Lux. I guess it's Lux, like deluxe. For some reason I want to say Lux whenever I see that word though. Anyways though, this one has some cool neat things to it. It has that chrome trim going around the side, which was not previously available. It has some white wall tires on it, which you couldn't normally get. It has a really red interior on the inside. And it has different wheels, which I should have mentioned when I mentioned the tires, but I forgot. Otherwise, though, it's identical to a normal one. It's just a cosmetic change, really. It doesn't have a better engine or anything like that. But all versions of the Grand Marshal can now have a tow hitch. And all vehicles that can have a tow hitch can now have the giant flail, which is a new thing that was added with this update, which I was kind of holding off till about now to show off. But it's just a giant flail that is attached to the vehicle that is just literally being drug along as you drive. And it does slow down the vehicle a lot, especially a car like the Grand Marshal, which doesn't have that much power in the first place. But you can use it to smack up vehicles, which I'm going to do kind of cheaty-ish right about here because we're going to freeze physics, spawn up a vehicle right in front of it and just do it like that so I don't miss, hopefully. So there we go. Perfect placement, hopefully. But let's see. There we go. Except it ended up hitting my car more than the yellow one. Oh well, you got to see it do an impact, so that's what was important. There's some of the damage it did on the first hit, and on the second hit, it actually managed to flip the car over, which I could fix if I wanted to really show it off, so, wah! Oh, that just made it worse. I grabbed from the wrong side. See, it's a little deceptive. Sometimes you think you're grabbing one thing, but you're grabbing a totally different thing every now and then, like you saw right there. I was grabbing the exhaust somehow. Okay, it's a two-part job to flip the car. Grab it, and there we go. So you can see the damage clearly. Looks like it also busted up the suspension some because it's sagging in the front now. So anyways, that's all you're probably going to see for that. I might do a video just messing around with that a little bit because I don't want to do it now, but I might want to do it later because I haven't really thought of what I could do with it. So if there's anything you guys would want to see it do, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try it out in that video whenever I do record it. Anyways, moving on to the other changes to the Grand Marshal. Some versions now have body colored trim. So this one doesn't have the black bar going across it like this one. It's just a straight, all single color body. Next up is the Corvette. So the Corvette has the same thing where it has a body color trim on some versions, like the Custom has body color trim. It also has a wide body kit on it right here. So if we switch between the regular ZXI and the Custom, you can see where that body kit is hitting between the wheels. We could go ahead and spawn it up so you can get a better look at it. I just wanted to switch back and forth so you can see the difference, basically. Now that you can see it on the car, you can see what it looks like a little bit better, although this isn't quite the best color to do it because it is a little bit dark. You also have the spoiler, which is used in the ZXI, Custom, Racing, and Rally one. I think it's a pretty fitting spoiler for this vehicle design. It has a carbon fiber hood. And then it also has the ability to have the logo either on the grille or the hood, where before it would only be on the grille. In this one, though, it has it on neither. We could go ahead and add it, though, if we wanted to. I think we could add it on the carbon fiber hood. Yes, we can. So we can add that right there. And you can see it right there. Little tiny logo. Not a big change, but it is a change after all. Next up is the new Pessima. And this one has a bumper bar reinforcement as a separate part. And what the bumper bar is it's a part that's kind of inside the bumper that's just there as like a support or reinforcement for it. You can see that's what it is. And when you have the bumper on, you really can't see it at all because it's covered up by the bumper. And if you look under it, though, you could actually kind of get a glimpse of it, just barely. Like you just kind of make out right about there. If I highlight just that, it makes it a little bit easier, I think, to see it. And that's about it. So next up is the Moonhawk. For the Moonhawk, it has a new version. It is the Detective Special. And this one is basically a V8 Sport with a different set of wheels and a light on top that you can once again activate by holding Alt and hitting M. Now I want to move into the interior because there's something kind of interesting about the way the gear selector is set up now. If we go to the parts menu and go to body and then shifter, we can actually have any shifter with any gearbox. So if you wanted the automatic floor shifter in the car, you can go ahead and add that, but not all models have it by default. Now only some do. If you wanted the manual column shifter on your automatic, you could do that as well, which is kind of weird and doesn't make much sense, but you could do that. If you wanted the manual floor shifter in your automatic, you could do that again, which doesn't make sense, but you can do that. So I'm just kind of getting to the point is you can intermix them. You can have whatever transmission you want with whatever shifter. So I could put the 4-speed automatic drag transmission to look like that. It really is whatever you want it to look like. Moving on to the next vehicle, which is the old Ibishu Pessima. The 1.8 DX no longer has fog lights. Like, it looks like it does in the thumbnail, but if you actually spawn the car up, you can see that it just has bits of plastic there now. The other ones, though, they still have the fog lights there. It's just this version. The Rally one has a new custom skin to it that I'll go ahead and spawn up so you can take a closer look at that. So there's that. It kind of looks more like, once again, if this was a modern skin for the vehicle, like if this was a new vehicle and it was a new rally vehicle, what would it look like? Probably something like that. Now it also has different wheels on the rally one. I can't exactly remember what the old ones look like, but apparently they're different. And this one has the same thing with the emblem, where it could be either on the hood or the grill. And this one also has the bumper bar as a different separate part, and the bumper bar is basically the same thing you saw in the other Pessima. So you see it's just kind of a piece of metal on the inside that reinforces the front bumper. Although this one's a little bit harder to see because of the vehicle I chose. Doesn't matter too much though. Next vehicle is the Ibishu Pigeon. And this one actually has a few different things to it. It has the street cleaning version, which gives you a bed extension vertically. So it has these extra pieces here. It has the trash can on the back. And it has the little light on top, which again, you can activate and see it functioning. One thing that's kind of cool that you probably saw if you looked at the blog post is that you can actually open up the door of the trash can like this and put stuff in it if you wanted to. I'm not going to bother because I currently have nothing spawned up that'll work. You can also drag the vehicle by the trash can until it pulls off, like I just did there. And you can also try to pull off the bed extension bits as well. Now that is all one bit, so this like extra reinforcement up top comes with the taller bed. I'm trying to rip it off and I'm just flailing the car all over the place. This isn't working well. I managed to pull off the bumper somehow, but that's what that has. Next one, the boxed version. This one has the boxed in bed. It has the extra fender flares right here so you can have wider tires on it. And it has a heavy duty suspension setup so it actually can put some things in there and not fail terribly at supporting itself. It is a little bit interesting though, when you drive this one, it doesn't want to tip nearly as bad as the other variants. Like I noticed that. It's just, it wants to slide instead of tip actually. You see, like, you have to force it. You really have to force it. You saw that first turn, it didn't really tip at all. Like, I know, I tipped over. What are you talking about, WhyBeAre? Here, watch. I'm going to do a 30-mile-per-hour crash, and I'm not going to, like, roll it back and forth. Or not crash, just driving. Like, you see that 30 miles per hour going back and forth like this, it's pretty stable. Much more stable than the normal one would be. Like, around this corner like that, you have to hold the steering to really tip it. Where the other one, it would tip a lot more easier, it felt like. Anyways, next up is the SBR4. Now for this one, there's not much to show. They improved the way the turbo works, and now all models have a 2.5 liter engine except for the base model, which has a 2 liter engine. Next up is the Sunburst, and the only thing that I can really show you about the Sunburst is it also has a bash bar. And I don't know if I should even bother showing it to you, but I've said it, so it's like, you know what, we'll go ahead and pull it up. So if we go, well, actually, we also have the front bumper support, which is the same thing you saw on the other vehicles, but it also has the bash bar. I should have chosen another vehicle with an intercooler. What am I thinking? Because it matches up with the intercooler. Let's grab one with an intercooler, then install the bash bar. If I can find the front bumper, which is always a little bit more difficult than it should be because they change places all the time. Here we go. Front bash bar. And once again, you can kind of see how it matches up with the intercooler and how it goes around. I think that's an intercooler at least. Yeah. Yeah, this is a turbocharged car. It has to be the intercooler probably, maybe. That's the radiator behind it. Yeah, okay, that's intercooler. 100% certain now because I can see the radiator. Anyways, though, it has that option as well. Next up is the Bolide. For the Bolide, we have a new variant. This one has a fancy rear diffuser, quad exhausts, and a different suspension setup that is a little bit more aggressive than the 390 GTR, so it sits slower and it's stiffer. And then it also has the improved tire physics like a lot of vehicles do. So it drives pretty similar to the 390 GTR in a straight line, but then when you go around corners, it does feel a little more race car-ish. And now it's ruined. Next up is the D series. For the D series, we do have some new mirrors on the D35 versions. You can see what those look like. Those are the heavy duty mirrors. They're taller and they have 2 actual pieces of glass in them because it's so heavy duty. There's also a bed cover that is optional on any vehicle, but it comes by default on the Sport at least. So I can show you what it looks like on that. And I always like bed covers. Like if I was to have a truck, it'd probably have a cover like that on it. They just seem practical to me. And then something that wasn't in the changelog, I don't think, is, and it might be old and I just never noticed it, is that you can make the truck look really dirty if you pick the dirty skin from the options menu like I just did. And then it also has the flail that you can put on the tow hitch as you would expect. Next up is the Roamer. And for the Roamer, not really any changes, suspension improvements, and you have the flail. That's about it. For the T-Series, not much I can show you. It fixed the ability to have the wheels getting power when it was broken, and the exhaust stacks are now actually the same height where they weren't before, and I didn't even know that. For the H series, it just had the suspension improved some, nothing else that I could really find with that. And that about covers all of the changes for update 0.5.2. So, till next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I'll see ya.